Yes, sir. My Tricker. Back up in this thing, man. Today, we'll be breaking down some creepy TikToks that'll keep you up at night. Let's get it. I definitely didn't expect to see a blizzard in Florida this year, but I guess Harp is just full of surprises.
So what you're seeing in this video is a video of government officials in China in the act of cloud seeding, which is when they shoot silver iodide into the atmosphere into clouds, because what it does is it forms ice crystals, which then melt and turn into rain. So they're doing this because they've been suffering from severe droughts all over China, especially along the Yangtze River, which is one of the biggest rivers that flows through China that's been drying up all over the place, which is going to impact, millions and millions and millions of human beings. So in an effort to combat this massive amount of drought that they've been suffering from for a while, they're trying to seed clouds. Now, cloud seeding has been something that's been in place around the world since like the 1940s, but recently China's got one of the biggest cloud seeding programs on the earth. According to China's State Council, the country is committed to bringing about 5.5 million square kilometers of its land under its weather modification program by 2025. And largely one of the biggest processes that they're going to be doing with that is cloud seeding. Now, cloud seeding is referred to as geoengineering, which is basically just saying like manipulating the earth. And currently there's no conventions or formal agreements that say you can't. So some people think this could be used militarily eventually. I don't know. What do you guys think?
This proves that the United States and China have a lot more in common than we think, but instead of cloud seeding from the airplane, they just do it from the back of a Ford Escape.
So what you've got the Saturn as we have now with the ring around it projecting out a false reality pockets. False reality. It hits the moon, and the moon is working like an amplifier, which then creates and projects the false reality onto this planet. So we're living an inverted reality here. It's not how it doesn't.
What do you mean by an inverted reality?
Well, an inverted reality in the sense that you succeed by doing bad. You succeed by over. Excuse my language. You succeed by screwing over your fellow man. If that's if you want to go along with that. I don't care if you succeed. I'd rather not succeed and be okay and take care of people I love. So whether or not it's success is not. I'm not interested in that. What I'm trying to do is change the frequency here, so that ceases to exist anymore.
Maybe this is part of the reason why we see so much Saturn worship amongst celebrities. They're worshiping the false reality, which they also promote.
Explain it. Mic'd up because you look at his shot, there's nothing going on. Just nice, dry roads up in northwestern Oklahoma.
Nothing going on, huh?
As we get later into this morning, a dry look across our Lucky Star Skycam network. Nothing going on. Clouds thicking up throughout the day as well. But like I mentioned, northwestern Oklahoma, that travel advisory in effect.
Saying there is nothing going on while also standing in front of a live shot of a giant mothership is unfortunate timing. There's definitely something going on. It's just not the weather.
August 6th of 2016, a small channel had posted a video of two security guards who appear to be inside a school. The footage seems to have come from Argentina, given the language that is spoken by both men in the video. They seem to be the only ones inside the school. However, in the video, one security guard tells the other that he can hear noises coming from down the hall. Although one of them is hesitant at first, they proceed to check out the noise. What happens then has left them spooked. This is what they caught.
¿Qué onda, boludo? ¿Hace un frío acá afuera? Sí, boludo, hace un refrío. Pero acá parece que hace más frío, porque dice cuando hace frío que es por algo, digamos. ¿Dónde escuchas, boludo? Acá hay ruido en toda la escuela. Pero sí, boludo, ¿no escuchaste? ¿Ves a escuchar? ¿Escuchás, boludo? escuchar?
Que nada, boludo. Ah, pues sí. Ah, hay como una cortina ahí.
Sí. ¿Dónde escuchaste, boludo? No sé, boludo, para mí que por allá. O ahí, no sé. Mira, mira. Por acá era. No, boludo, ¿viste eso? Ah, boludo. Aguantá, boludo, aguantá. Aguantá.
After panning the camera towards an empty classroom, we can see a chair that is strangely placed near the doorway. It isn't until seconds later that the chair moves on its own, causing both men to flee as far away from the site. The video's description claims that both men had encountered something paranormal, which appears to be the case. Although most viewers believe that something paranormal had occurred, a few believe that this might have been done with practical effects. Some believe that a string was used to pull this off. Now, because the guard didn't go inside the class to show that no one was hiding inside, it's hard to be sure if it's real or not. I'll leave it to you to decide as to whether or not something paranormal had occurred. Had both guards encountered something beyond explanation, or was this something else?
There could have been somebody pulling the chair with a string, but if not, and I'm one of those security guards, I'm handing in my flashlight and my whistle that night.
Bought this system produced by Lockheed Martin. It's essentially scanning the globe all the time. They've got 6 or 7 Hubble Space Telescopes in geosynchronous orbit, constantly scanning the Earth, as well as they've incorporated mid-Earth orbit and low Earth orbit satellites into this constellation. This is not as simple as like the movie Enemy of the State, where you're just looking down through satellites anymore. They have capability to scan basically the entire planet and relay that information to ground-based computers, which can then produce what we've deduced to be like a Google video playback, Google Earth video playback type situation that they have capability for, which essentially means that there's no privacy at all anymore. Now, the National Reconnaissance Office and the National Geospace Agency would be the ones that are primarily in charge of this system.
If he's right about this, then these are basically satellite surveillance cameras. Privacy is just an illusion at this point.
Did you know Squid Game's actually based on true events from the 80s? It's all based around the 1986 Brothers House incident in Korea, where an orphanage was essentially turned into the Squid Game. Founded in 1960, the Brothers House orphanage ran normally until 1986. A billionaire adopted all the kids and then bought the orphanage and locked them all in it, hiring workers that hid their face like this and forced these children in blue jumpsuits to play kids games. And if you're wondering, you didn't want to lose. The creator of Squid Game claims that it was not based on anything, but this is in the TV show where the guards sleep, and this is at the Brothers House where they kept the children. Also, these were the Squid Game guards, and these were the guards in the real life. Now, you can look this up for yourself. This is actually one of the worst human rights violations in history. But weirdly, around 2020, it was kind of scrubbed from the internet, with many people theorizing Netflix did this in order for the Squid Games to be posted as normal. This is until some survivors of the Brothers House started speaking up this year. They started realizing how awfully similar the Squid Games looks and plays just like the Brother House. Squid Games denies there's any influence or ties to this, but I want to know what your thoughts are, because I think there is.
Allowing a billionaire to adopt an entire orphanage full of kids, then also buying that orphanage is just means for a disaster. That's like giving Ghislaine Maxwell her own Chuck E. Cheese. If I'm ever in a hospital and I see a ghost reflection off a Gatorade bottle, I'm ripping the IVs out and checking out immediately. I'm not even wasting time changing out of the gown.
Behind me is the Temple of Apollo on the Rothschild estate. The Rothschilds control the currency, not only of the Bank of England, but the currency of the United States of America. And what do they do with all of this money? They buy the politicians. They will give way to the highest bidder. Are the members of Parliament and the Congress of the United States beholden to the people? Well, they don't think so, because it's the big money the banksters who buy them off, they do their bidding.
We worried about the temple on Little St. James Island. We need to investigate this temple. All right, this next clip was actually sent to me by JJ, who's a member of the community. They recorded this on December 6th in Michigan. Let's check it out. Either the spotlights they use outside of events have gotten much more advanced, or this is Project Bluebeam activity. Let me know what you guys think about this one.
Did you mention that Bill Gates' dad was at one point head or involved in the Federal Reserve?
Yeah, he was in charge of the Washington State Federal Reserve. And he also established Planned Parenthood. So he was like...
Bill Gates' dad?
Bill Gates' dad.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, he ran the bank of banks. The biggest Federal Reserve is New York Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
The most powerful of all of them.
Yeah.
But the Federal Reserve in Washington State is very powerful as well. And he ran that. And the whole story of Bill Gates is like, you get into these billionaires, it's all larps and lies. And you study like Jeff Bezos, and like, he's the hardest working guy. He works so hard. He just got in his garage and never stopped. And you're like, and his grandpa established DARPA. His grandpa established DARPA. He used to work in nuclear energy, and they brought him over, and he created the U.S. Government's Department of DARPA, where all the crazy stuff comes out of.
His father?
His
grandfather.
Jeff Bezos' grandfather.
Bro.
I'm pretty sure we already covered the Jeff Bezos connection with DARPA, but I got to do a little more research on Bill Gates' dad, because if that's true and he worked with the Federal Reserve, then bleeding the people dry just runs in the family.
You know how they cover
This
up
is the reason celebs cover one eye.
That means two things. That means watch out, you don't get the lizard to stick the thing in the eye.
And then they go, shh.
Yeah.
Now you know the reason they're doing that. It's like, don't get the thing in your eye, and shh. Don't tell anybody you know about the things that stick the things in your eye, because you might get a thing in your eye.
If I was a celebrity, the moment I found out that was a thing, I would leave Hollywood and go get a regular job.
Will you tell me now? The formula for a time machine.
F equals 1 over T.
F equals 1 over T.
F being frequency and T being time.
And this enables me to go back to the time of Caesar's armies conquering Britain.
Well, it would enable a mathematician to work this out, yes.
And why hasn't this been acclaimed like Einstein's E equals MC squared?
Well, why hasn't the fact that the United States government's been flying anti-gravity ships since 1956 been acclaimed? Or the fact that there's a crater on the moon with a base in it since 1954, we've known this.
Now, you talked about a crater on the moon. Now, I thought all the moon stuff had been debunked and that nobody ever really knows what goes on the moon. What's this?
Well, this is the Gassendi crater. This is 55 miles long and oval-shaped. It's in the Mare Humorum Sea, or on the edge of it. Since 35 years ago, they wondered why this particular crater had these lines in it. And with the magnification which you can get with a larger telescope, this is what they found. These lines are tubes laying on the surface of this crater and running under some of the mountain ridges. There are 3 large dome-shaped structures in here. These tubes run clear outside of the crater, and we know they are tubes laying on the surface because the sun is shining from this angle, and this mountain peak causes this shadow.
What does it all mean? Does this mean that this is a rocket launching or a flying saucer base on the moon?
This has been a base on the moon for perhaps many thousands of years, used by these people in the spaceships to resupply their ships or whatever is required.
Not even Life magazine has accepted this as genuine, or has it?
Well, the Palomar Observatory people that took the picture won't even comment on it, so...
There must be a great conspiracy of silence to keep George Van Tassel's secret of the universe away from the people.
No, it isn't to keep anything I know away from the people. It's to keep many things away from the people.
Maybe this is what started the whole race to be the first to land a man on the moon. They wanted to investigate these bases, and if the moon landing was real, this is also probably why they never went back.
Right, this is a video now, so you know I'm not f***ing chatting. Look at that. How is there 2 moons?
If she was only seeing this with her camera, then it's probably just a lens flare. But if she was also seeing it with her eyes, then we might have a real issue.
I love when everyone says Tartaria was only in Asia, because this is right in the heart of New York. You see these windows right here, them circles, that's your trachea, the Asian symbol for a trinity. What's that doing in New York? This is another giant Asian structure in New York. And that's your Tibetan trachea. All these arcs on this open level right here were really all open. There was no windows in here. I got the original blueprints from some of the churches, all right? These were all wide open. When you guys realize that Tartaria is Tartarus from the Bible, and these are all pagan synagogues, all right? With your pagan faces right here. There's your Moloch, a gargoyle on the corner with its horns. These buildings were built by your Nephilim and the fallen angels. This is Tartarus, the Greek underworld. That's why you got all these pagan demons, the Greek demons with the horns on it, okay? This is all fallen angel tech, alright? The Nephilim, fallen angels, and the Masons built these. I'm not even playing. Right here, look. Your Masonic crest right there. That's your Freemason triangle right there. And that's your tool right there that they use, the geometry tool. See all the royal archmasons up in here. Come on. This is all your royal blood. You can see the Masonic crests on every single peak, alright? They didn't add those up here. They really built that. Here it is right in the front with the lion and the horse and the crown, the royal crown. These are all your royal monarchs. Just look how far it dips off in the back. You see how it's like 10 feet down there? That means there's another 10 feet to the front of this church that's buried because this whole street got flooded and reset. There's the river right there. This river flooded this whole entire area and it reset the grades. The original date to this building's underneath that. Just look how far back this dips in the back. This was all going to match the front of that building. Up there is a solid copper antenna and it's connected to that roof. My buddy talked to the owner of this building before. He was going to scrap that, get like $600 because it's solid copper up there. So you see how that cone cylinder has a peak on it right there? Made of copper. That one would have had one right here too. This is the next structure over. They took it off. You can see how this drops off right here in the back of this building, dips off, and there's the river right there. That's what they gave you to replace it, are these power stations right here, your national grid. That's what these buildings were originally constructed like, were these towers right here. They were open temples and they bricked over this technology and filled them in and converted them to churches. You can see this is right down the street. This is another Tibetan temple that got veneered over and bricked in. That's a Buddha in that window, okay? This is a Tibetan structure in the heart of New York. Somatic tone right there that they put the smokestack in and covered all that up. And they bricked around this whole thing, right? These buildings go way further into the ground and they're all over the planet.
Like he pointed out, some of this architecture really doesn't make sense for the location. If I can go into the Vatican archives and learn the truth about anything, it would probably be Tartaria.
Nicolas Cage is actually a vampire in real life. What? All right, so this conspiracy theory started back in 2012 when this picture was posted on eBay, and it does look strikingly similar to Nicolas Cage. It dates back to the Civil War era, and David Letterman actually brought it up and asked Nicolas Cage about the picture in an interview in 2012. Nicolas Cage denied the rumors, however, and said that he does not drink blood. What's even more interesting is that the seller who was selling this picture on eBay actually said that it was found in a photo album with other Civil War pictures and it was the only one without a name on it. People then found out that underneath the picture in the description, the seller actually wrote the following. Personally, I believe it's him and that he is some sort of walking undead vampire, etc., who quickens or reinvents himself once every 75 years or so.
He looks exactly like the person in this picture. At the very least, it's his great-great-grandfather.
There's a thing out there, and you've read it in Life magazine. You've seen the front cover of the NASA SETI program. They've talked about $100 million investment. $100 million to invest to find out whether there is extraterrestrial intelligence. Well, they got something going here. You remember War of the Worlds?
The radio broadcast?
Yes, by Orson Welles, 1939.
Yes.
Well, we've got something else coming in They're going to make the announcement that they have discovered extraterrestrial intelligence. And this will frighten the people of the world. Say, oh my God, how can we deal with this as a nation? But we can only deal with it as the United Nations. Yes, we're going to have a United Nations, a one world government. Yeah, it's necessary, they're going to say. It's absolutely necessary. Why? Tell me. To defend ourselves from those little green men, from the aliens that are out there. They will make that announcement. And the whole program is phony. It's fixed. It's set up. And you're going to be the patsy unless you understand what's going down and who's doing what to whom.
And we thought Kim Jong-un was bad. Let's see what happens if we give one person power over the entire world.
I got a buddy who's worth $1 trillion. Let's just put it that way. I won't say his name or anything. Yeah. And literally, he has built his whole house. There's a lab in his house. He literally has the best scientists in the world in there trying to figure out how to make him live to 150. Because guess what? When you have $1 trillion, you don't want to... You want to live forever, and he's trying to make it happen.
He lost me when he said he has a buddy worth $1 trillion, unless he's somehow friends with Mansa Musa.
The reason why they're doing this is that they want us to become entranced by the idea of this religion, to have it be cool, to have it be trendy. So one of the things they do is this symbol, which is 666. Each finger is one of the stems of the 6. So you'll see people do stuff like this. You'll also see them put their finger over their eye like this. That's the all-seeing eye. Or they'll do this a lot. You'll have this kind of symbolism. So they're out there putting out these sigils and signs and codes and symbols, and they do it through things like pop music. So people start watching what's ever popular, and they're seeing flames, and they're seeing people dancing around in Baphomet horns, and they're seeing all this really strange stuff. Their goal, again, is to acquaint us with their religion so that if they get their goal realized, which is to create a massive world economic collapse, greatly reduce population, and then come out as our liberators, giving us this technology, giving us what they consider to be freedom.
Whenever I see somebody throw up one of those hand signs, I already know what they're affiliated with, unless it's Elon Musk, of course. In that case, then it's just another form of the Roman salute.
Urban legends that ended up being real, part 23. Tombstone thunderbird. It is said to be spotted in Tombstone, Arizona. It's a huge bird with a wingspan that stretches over 20 feet long, and it comes out during storms. The most well-known account comes from 1890 when 2 ranchers in Tombstone claimed to have encountered a creature matching the thunderbird's description. The massive bird attacked their livestock, forcing them to shoot it down. They described it as having leathery bat-like wings and looked more like a dinosaur than a bird. The men dragged the bird back to town, where a photograph of them standing with the massive creature was taken. This photo has become one of the greatest mysteries of the legend. And in 1977, a family in Lawndale, Illinois claimed that a thunderbird attacked their young son while he was out playing in the yard. The bird tried to carry the boy away before being scared off by the family. And the most recent sighting comes from 2020 when a group of campers in the forests of Pennsylvania claimed to see a shadow pass over their campsite, blocking out the moonlight. But when they looked up, they described a bird so large it seemed to glide silently across the sky, and its wings created a whooshing sound as it disappeared into darkness.
I highly doubt that photo is real, because if it was, the Pentagon would never let it see the light of day. But I have heard stories about the Thunderbird before, and from the way he describes it, it kind of sounds like a dragon. If you're from Arizona or from Tombstone and never heard stories or ever seen this, let us know in the comments.
I'm seeing right now that looks crazy, and I don't know what it is. My friend's very excited because she's like, secret tunnel! Here's the door. It's solid metal and it's been bolted shut. Okay. This part is square, but that is like circular. And then on both sides, on this side and on that side, it just disappears into the mountain. What is
It's probably just a storm drain, but I would start hiking the opposite direction just in case.
And I want to go right to this next video. So this clip coming up is of Keenan Ivory Wayans, and he was the creator of In Living Color. Obviously, a very famous show in the 90s. You have Jim Carrey, people like Jamie Foxx, obviously the Wayans brothers, all super famous guys. And so he has a meeting as he's trying to get this show on the air. And it's an interesting meeting.
Not only was that a conversation, but they hired a research group, and it was the funniest thing. I met with the research people, and I swear it was the CIA. It was a kind of like stiffness and suit and tie that you just go, this is not your average white executive right here. This guy is on another level. Told me about the research they had done. And they didn't ask people if they thought things were funny. They asked them, how did it make them feel? It's like, wow. And then they asked me some questions, and they asked me, so what do you think the show is? What do you think? Like, they wanted to know my feelings about the show, and I said, I think the show is fresh and it's new. I think it's revolutionary. And they said, what do you mean revolutionary?
How do you spell nervous? Because this was it.
He just comes right out and says, this meeting wasn't a normal business executive like a Hollywood guy. It was something else.
Dude, he's straight up telling you it's the CIA. Like, he straight up said it.
What does our government have to do with these comedy shows? Like, why would we want them to worry about what's on In Living Color?
Bro, it's so clearly there's an agenda.
I know once he said that he thought the show was revolutionary, their eyes got real big. They were ready to cancel the show before the first episode aired. If this person pulls up behind you while you're driving on the highway at night, you're going to be partially blind in both eyes for at least 3 weeks. But that was the video, guys. Don't forget to sub up, hit that notification bell, and I'll catch you in the next one.